We are joined by Graham Hancock. How are you, Graham?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Any excuse to talk Lego and Star Wars, I'm here for it.
Oh, that's great. I saw you posting about the book, and then I did some research on the book, or tried to find what I could on immediately, and then I reached out to you, and I was like, I got to talk to him about this book. I gotta know. He got to do one of the coolest Star Wars books you can do. Uh, so, and I'm really honored that you're taking the time. It's either late or early there, depending on how you look at it.
I work on a magazine. I work on a monthly magazine, so late nights approaching deadlines are an entirely normal thing to me. My sleep pattern is not standard. It's not advised.
Well, that's good. Well, let me just start by telling us a little bit about your Star Wars story. How did you get into Star Wars? When did you see Star Wars? What's some of your earliest experiences with it?
Yeah, so I was a kid in the 90s, so I saw Star Wars on TV, and I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I started buying a few action figures and things. But it was going to see Star Wars Special Edition in the cinema that converted me. That was when I fell in love with it. Like that flicked the switch in my head. That was when I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's my favorite thing. Um, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi Special Editions, seeing all of those, like, not only did it make me fall in love with Star Wars, but it really showed me like the cinematic experience and why that's special. Because seeing those films, obviously on a cinema screen is so different to watching them on TV.
Yeah.
And especially when you think of what TVs used to be like, and the box in the corner, it wasn't the same.
Right, like when the special editions came out, and that poster or that commercial where the X-wing flies out of the television, and they said this is the way it was meant to be seen, for sure. Are you going to catch Phantom Menace when it comes back in the theaters that weekend?
Yeah, we've got our tickets for Leicester Square, London.
Nice.
To see it on the biggest screen that we can get.
That's great. That's great.
I mean, that was like the Phantom Menace again. Like, seeing the special editions as a kid and realizing what this was, and then having the hype for the Phantom Menace at that age was just absolutely perfect. So, the Phantom Menace in particular has such a special place in my heart, and getting to see that again at the cinema, again, just any opportunity to do it.
It's so interesting to me because I know that the white beard doesn't give it away, but I saw Star Wars in 1977 as a 7-year-old, and the prequel trilogy. I actually was doing some work for some of the Lucasfilm publications at the time, so I was at the premieres of all three in New York City, and it's funny. I walked out of Phantom Menace, and I'm able to admit it now. And I was like, I don't know what I just saw. I don't know if I loved it. And I was kind of, and I don't want to say a prequel hater, because that's just horrible to say. Because now, honestly, if I'm going to throw a film in a Star Wars movie of all 9 of the saga films, there's a good chance that I'm choosing Phantom Menace at this point. I just feel like I get it now. It's just such a fun movie, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so nice for me to have that as the kind of the entry point to like my Star Wars, because this wasn't something that my parents had introduced me to. Like, once it was the Phantom Menace, it was like this was something that I was getting to experience firsthand. And then getting to go through Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, like, going through those teenage years and everything with it was really cool. It gave me that opportunity to really engage with it and really kind of go along for the ride with it all.
Awesome. Cool.
Well, I think that leads me to my next question, actually, because I'm trying to wrap my head around the bridge that you had to go from Star Wars to Lego, and I'm just kind of curious how you made that connection to where you are now.
Well, it was for me as a kid, like Lego Pirates and Lego Western and all of these things. I was growing up with them, just having a great time with them, like, taking over the living room, building all of this stuff up, having these epic kind of sea battles, and like all this kind of playtime with Lego. But then when I was getting to, I don't know, about 10 years old or something, I was a kind of like, I was a kid who was like trying to grow up too quickly. And in some ways it was great, because I was reading Star Wars novels, I was getting into Star Wars comics and accessing all of that. But then it made me think that, like, oh, I need to stop playing with Lego. Like, I'm too old for this now. This is, completely the opposite to how I am now, because now, I'm the grown adult with a house full of it and all the rest of it. Like, But the one thing in the world that could keep me in Lego at that time was Star Wars. And then sure enough, I walk into Toys R Us, I see the end cap of Lego Star Wars, the first ever sets. I had no idea they were coming, and it just blew my mind. My two favorite things coming together in that way. It was just like, and I could justify it because I'm collecting this now. I'm not playing with it like I play with it. This is collecting. This is different. This is somehow okay.
They're not dolls. They're action figures. Yeah. We've all had to have that internal discussion, you know.
Well, and then you grow up and realize that it's perfectly legit just to be an overgrown kid and enjoy this stuff for what it is. Like that's, the healthy relationship I have with it now. But it's, it's just that funny mindset you have when you're a kid and you start to feel embarrassed by this stuff. And then,
Yeah. And there's something about Star Wars that allows you to, I guess it's, there's something about Star Wars you always, the way I look at it is it feels like you want to own something from that. I mean, I have a weird helmet obsession, as you can see behind me, and this Lego obsession. And I think any entree, and I think that's why it also carries into adults being collectors and things like that. And yeah, it's okay. Like if somebody would walk into that office that sees the six sets on the floor, they're going to think they're for my 11-year-old son. No, they're not. They're for me, and I'm going to get to them when I get to them. And leave me alone. Let me do them.
They'll get finished when they're finished.
Right, they'll be done when they're done, and I'll get to them. So it's funny you say that though about the pirates and those sort of things, because it was around 99 when Lucasfilm and Lego, if I have the story right, I was at a great marketing conference about 10 years ago, and people from Lego were there, and they talked about how one of the things that helped save this company, which was hurting, was this Lucasfilm license. But you have just completed, I guess you're completed, right? It comes out, it's going to be available to order on May 1st, this amazing book called The Force of Creativity. Tell us a little bit about the book and what we can expect to find in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, as you can imagine, from 99, then for 25 years, I've been buying Lego Star Wars sets. I've been so deeply embedded. It's so special to me because it kept me in Lego, and because it was such a fun way to access Star Wars. So this was an absolute dream project to me, for me to write this book. And the thing that I was sure about when I started on it was this should be a book for Lego fans who love Star Wars and Star Wars fans who love Lego. It should speak to kind of anyone, whichever kind of side of it is, the scales tip on for you personally. And we go into it. We go deep into how all of this Lego Star Wars experience comes to be. We start with like how Lego and Lucasfilm linked up, why both of them wanted to collaborate, what those early days were like, getting those first models out and everything. And then how the models are designed, how the guys sitting in Denmark come up with these amazing Lego creations, using this system of elements to recreate these things that we just love to see, on screen. And how the minifigures are designed, how the huge, crazy, big build experiences come to be, how the animated specials are made, how the video games were made. We go through absolutely all of the key aspects of Lego Star Wars and talk to the people who create them, who make them happen.
Now it's a 300-page book, right? It comes with this beautiful foldout. I just put the link in the chat for people to go check it out on the Lego site. It's this beautiful foldout with the Falcon and a Star Destroyer, and then there's also, if I understood it correctly, there's not necessarily schematics, but like different sort of individual. There's like a folder of individual sheets, correct?
Yeah. This thing's really cool. This is the time capsule that we've got with the book. And the idea is that as you're reading the book, the items in this time capsule will complement what you're reading about. So, as an example, Toy Fair 1999 in New York was the first time that Lego Star Wars had been shown to anyone, anywhere. So to invite toy buyers to that event, Lego sent out this little fold-out box that had a tiny diorama of Luke Skywalker fighting Darth Vader in it. And it was the first place anyone could get the Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader minifigures. As you can imagine, though, that was only sent out to toy buyers and select media. So it is exceptionally rare. Like very few of them exist.
Right.
Like no regular fan can own it. But it occurred to us, if we're going to do a time capsule that has artifacts from the history of Lego Star Wars, we can do a replica of that for people who buy the book. So there's a flat version of that box in there that you can fold up and create your own little scene to put in it with your own Lego. So we're kind of, and some of the items in there are prints that you can frame and put up on the wall alongside your Lego Star Wars sets. We've got building instructions in there that have never been made available before, so you can order the bricks online and build these things that up until now you're not able to build. Wow. It's we had so much fun coming up with stuff to put in that time capsule.
The fact that it has actual brick numbers is impressive. That's really cool. Okay, all right. You've convinced me.
You got bricks in there, but the instructions are there, so you can get those bricks and build those things. And one of our models in there is the Yoda fountain that sits outside the Lucasfilm headquarters. There was a special employee gift set given out last year to Lucasfilm employees, and that's one of the things that we've got the instructions for. And I've checked, and all of those bricks are available to buy on Lego.com at the moment, so you can rebuild that model.
So is there a way that I can just give you money now? Or I really want that fountain. I ain't gonna lie. I really want that fountain.
It's cool too that you go into because I think so much I think so when I was getting back into Legos, because I have, like I said, I have an 11-year-old son, not Legos, I'm sorry, Lego. I have an 11-year-old son, but I tried to use him as my excuse, and he's not as into it. But what he really got into was the Lego video games and the Star Wars Lego video games. And he loved like Freemaker and all the Lego shorts. Was that always was that more of a Lego marketing program or marketing approach, or is that a Star Wars storytelling approach, or how do they work together? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the video games, there were basically a few guys who worked for Lego's video game arm in the early noughties who came up with this idea that they wanted to do a Lego Star Wars video game. But at the time, it was a tricky thing within Lego to keep making these video games. They felt that they needed to spin it off as a separate company that could just focus on this video game, that would be absolutely dedicated to making it. And Lego Star Wars was the first video game. I mean, it wasn't the first video game, but it was the first video game that like really put Lego video games on the map. It was the one that kicked things up a gear and really made people just want to grab a controller and get sucked into like being a minifigure, running around using the Force, wielding a lightsaber and everything. And these guys just landed on this formula. And again, in the book, we tell the story of just the random conversations they were having and the ideas they were throwing around, and just how it was just a bunch of game developers coming up with this. And it's gone on to be this long-running, never-ending franchise of Lego video games. You know, Marvel, Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, Batman, like every big Lego IP has kind of been transferred into a video game now. And yeah, like you say, it's just this massive entry point for children to get into Lego via video games.
Yep, for sure.
It's funny that you should actually say that video games are an entry point, because I got started on Lego with Lego chess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I understand that a little bit more than you think. And
it was not as Lego Star Wars, the video game, though, right? It was a different era of Lego video.
Lego chess to I think it was Episode 2 was the first Lego game they ever put out for Star Wars. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was like Episode 2 or something like that. And that was what kicked off everything. It was actually the first video game I ever played.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it speaks to me. So I guess that's going to kind of lead into this. Now, being as that you're around Lego pretty much 24/7, do you have a favorite Star Wars set and a favorite non-Star Wars set?
It's really tricky to pick a favorite, but if I have to choose one, it's got to be the Death Star that they did, where like the scenes are cut out of it. Okay. So that it's a sphere. It is the right shape for the Death Star, but literally it's got these cutouts that have all the different scenes from both the a New Hope Death Star, and the Return of the Jedi Death Star. So you've got the Emperor's throne room, you've got a trash compactor, you've got the chasm swing and everything. And it's one of those sets that, like, in theory, you should build it over a few weeks or something, because it's a big, epic build. But once you start, it's just so hard to stop because it's so much fun and you see the whole thing coming together. And then once it's on display, you can't help but literally go and play with it. Like, and you just imagine if you'd had this thing when you were 8 years old, it would have just, you'd have played with it even more than you do as a grown-up.
I would never move it from the stand.
I'd
see
be
those
too
videos
afraid.
of people dropping their Star Destroyers, and I'm like, oh God. So, do you have a favorite non-Star Wars Lego set, though?
That one's easier. That one always has to be the big Black Seas Barracuda pirate ship from when I was a kid, because it was the one that I must have built, rebuilt, destroyed in sea battles and so many times. And that one's so special.
And now I have to ask just one off, because I spy with my little eye in that corner there. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the new TIE Interceptor.
Is it as big as the pictures make it out to be?
Can you hold it up? Can we see it?
If I dare move it.
You're right. Don't drop it. Oh my God.
Oh man, my heart. Okay, hold on.
Oh,
wow, the thing is massive.
The thing I love about the Lego Star Wars guys is they make even these big models for adults. They're swooshable. You can fly this thing around. Like, look, and nothing falls off. They're so talented. The fact that they can do this now is mind blowing. And this is a great example of how it's come in 25 years. 20 years ago, this model would have been a bit more fragile. Things might have fallen off if you'd done this, but now,
yep,
it's amazing.
That
it's
detail is incredible.
Yep, May the 1st, I will be ordering that and Graham's book.
Take my money now.
Right, just take my money. Graham, I know that you're not always just writing books and building Legos. You also you said you're in magazine. Tell us a little bit about Blocks magazine.
Yeah, so Blocks is a monthly magazine that just covers everything about the Lego hobby. So if you love Lego, Blocks magazine is for you, basically. It's the next issue is our May the 4th special.
Okay.
That will be out at the end of April. And we've got like an awesome cover. I can't wait until we can share it with everybody, because it's really nice. It's got the new Lego R2D2 set on the front. And inside, we've got the story of Lego Star Wars told through 25 sets from over the years. So we pick one model from each year that tells us something about the story of Lego Star Wars. And then alongside that, we've got like an interview with the guy who designed this TIE Interceptor. We've got an interview with Matt Denton, who did like a big 3D printed upscaled version of the Stormtrooper mech. We've got, some really fun Lego Star Wars stuff in it.
Wow.
Google Blocks magazine, you'll find it.
And is it available outside the UK?
Yeah, it should be available in Barnes & Noble and on our website at blocksmag.com.
Okay, awesome. And man, I hit my Barnes and Noble at least once a month, so I will be now. I have something new to look for, which is great.
Waiting until July for the book. This is a nice thing to tide everybody over in the meantime. You get Blocks magazine for a smaller hit, and then you get the book in July, and it's all good.
So tell people about where they can order, when and where they can order the book. Is it only available on Lego.com?
It's exclusive to Lego.com. And you can pre-order it from May the 1st, and it will be available July 20th. And it's not too long now. It's exciting to be at this point, that's for sure.
That's great. Was there anything that you learned while you were writing the book that you were just sort of like caught you by surprise? Something that you were like, oh, I didn't even think of. That was a surprise. I didn't think of that.
The thing that really amazed me was how quickly they did the first batch of Lego Star Wars sets. Because Lego and Lucasfilm were talking, and they didn't actually get the final agreement signed until February of 1998. Then they announced it April 98, and the first models were released March 99. Literally in a year, these guys worked like so quickly to get these models on time. And back then, it would have taken 2 to 3 years, for the development time of a Lego model, and especially for a new range of Lego sets.
Right.
So it really surprised me just how quick the turnaround was on that. Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
It's like Kenner 2.0
Yeah.
from the original movie, but
That's right.
fast forward.
Well, speaking of how quickly designing, how long did it take you to write this book, and what was the process?
It was a year-long project, and the process was read through all of my old notes, pull loads of old files out that were going to be useful to me, and then start talking to people as quickly as possible. Like, I spoke to as many people on the Lego Star Wars team as I could who actually work on the models and everything. I spoke to the guys who worked on the animated specials and things, some of the writers and so on. I just spoke to as many people as quickly as I could, so that then I could start writing and start getting the chapters together. Because it was quite a fast-paced project, but it was that's a really, really good way for me to work. It always seems to suit me. But like, there were some real treats along the way, though. Like, I interviewed Anthony Daniels to talk about the Lego Star Wars animation, because he has such a good perspective on like playing different iterations of C-3PO. Because of course he's been involved in it so long, he's played the character so long, he could really speak to the difference between C-3PO in a Lego Star Wars special versus C-3PO in the Star Wars movies. And then, Jens Kronvold Fredrickson is the design director on Lego Star Wars. I got him and Doug Chang together to have a conversation about design and everything, and about their different disciplines, about how their careers went and everything, how they got to where they did. And hearing like the similarities and differences between toy design and movie design, that was absolutely fascinating. And that's the prologue for the book. So it kind of gets you in the mindset for everything else that you're going to read about Lego Star Wars and the kind of behind the scenes stories.
That is, I was going to buy this book anyway, but the more you talk about it, the more I'm I'm excited about it. I'm so thankful, Lloyd Nara. Thankful that you took the time to talk to us tonight about the book. Once again, you can get it only through Lego.com. It will go up for sale on May the 1st when some of the other exclusives go out that day. If you want it, you better be online on May the 1st to get it, because I can tell you this book is going to literally fly off the shelves. But Graham, where can people follow you online and keep up with you? And mention the magazine again, where we can find that online.
Yeah, if you go to blocksmag.com, so BLOCKS mag.com, that's where you can find Blocks Magazine. We'll have our Star Wars issue out end of next week. And then you can follow me, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, just search for Graham Hancock and I'll come up.
Excellent. Well, Graham, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a blast, and I hope that we get to talk to you again sometime. And I'll send you pictures when I'm finished up with the TIE Interceptor, so you can see where.
Please. Thank you both so much. This has been so much fun.
Thank you. We'll be back.